There's something about movies from the 80s that still hits different. We've already looked back at some of the best horror from 1985, and now it's time to see how that year's sci-fi is holding up. This isn't a ranking, just a look back 40 years to revisit some films that are still worth our time. Terry Gilliam's Brazil is one of those rare sci-fi movies that only gets better with each rewatch. It's a dense, surreal, and visually rich dive into a retro future where ordinary office worker Sam Lowry, played by Jonathan Pryce, is just another cog in a massive, suffocating bureaucracy. Gilliam originally wanted to call the film 1984 and a half, blending Orwell's dystopia with the surreal edge of Fellini, and you can see that in every frame. The world of Brazil is packed with odd details: baby-faced terrorists, endless paperwork, and dream sequences where Sam becomes a winged hero trying to escape it all. The film's dark humor and absurd visuals make it feel like a slapstick nightmare about a system gone mad, but it's also deeply political, showing how a single typo can ruin a life in a world run by endless red tape. It's a satire, a fantasy, and a warning all at once, and it still feels as fresh and relevant today as it did in 1985. If you've never seen Brazil or haven't revisited it in a while, it's worth your time. Back to the Future is a classic, no question about it. Robert Zemeckis' time travel adventure about teen rebel Marty McFly, played perfectly by Michael J. Fox, is one of the most fun and accessible sci-fi movies ever made. It's been copied and referenced so many times that it's easy to forget how clever and flawlessly executed it really is until you sit down and watch it again. The film's high-concept premise, sending a kid from the 1980s back to the 1950s to make sure his parents end up together, sounds simple, but Zemeckis and co-writer Bob Gale pack it with sharp writing, humor, and heart. The special effects and production design still hold up, but what makes the film timeless is the cast. Fox is an engaging lead, Crispin Glover is unforgettable as George McFly, and Christopher Lloyd's Doc Brown steals every scene. Back to the Future isn't just nostalgia after 40 years. It's the pure joy and sharp storytelling that still hold up. Okay, this isn't a ranking, but if it was, this film would be at the top. The Quiet Earth is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi film from New Zealand that feels bigger than its $1 million budget would suggest. It follows a scientist who wakes up one day to find he might be the last person on Earth. And while the setup might feel familiar if you've seen I Am Legend or other stories like it, this film takes a quieter, more thoughtful approach. Instead of focusing on action or horror, The Quiet Earth explores what it means to be truly alone and what it does to a person over time. It's not a fast-paced movie, but it gives you a lot to think about, with some striking visuals that still look good today. It's one of those 80s sci-fi films that doesn't get talked about much, but is worth checking out if you're in the mood for something slower, stranger, and a bit more reflective than your usual end-of-the-world story. It's a movie that might not come up often in 80s sci-fi lists, but still. Real Genius follows Mitch Taylor, a teenage science whiz who heads to Pacific Tech to work on a high-powered laser project. There he meets Chris Knight, played by Val Kilmer, who's gone from top student to laid-back prankster and party guy. At first, it feels like a light college comedy, mixing physics projects with dorm chaos and pool parties. But things change when Mitch and Chris find out their professor, played by William Atherton, plans to use their laser for government assassinations. So they team up with their friends to get back at him in a memorable, popcorn-worthy finale. Real Genius captures the mix of pressure and freedom that comes with college while poking fun at authority along the way. It might feel dated in style, but that's part of the charm, and it's worth revisiting, especially if you're feeling nostalgic for the kind of fun, offbeat movies the 80s did so well. Back to the Future made the most of 80s nostalgia for the 1950s, but it wasn't the only film to tap into that feeling. Explorers, directed by Joe Dante, came out the same summer but didn't get the attention it deserved. It ended up bombing at the box office in 1985, overshadowed by bigger hits. but it's still worth dusting off if you're looking for something with that classic 80s adventure vibe. The film follows three kids who build a spaceship after getting instructions from aliens, hoping to escape their everyday lives. Instead, they meet teen-like aliens who've learned English from old TV and movie clips, a funny twist explorers did long before Transformers used it for Bumblebee. This movie mixes adventure, heart, and a bit of Cold War commentary, with the usual 80s touches of curious kids, strange inventions, and government agents trying to get in the way. It might not have found its audience back then, but Explorers is still a fun watch. This one already showed up on a 1985 horror list, but it deserves a mention here too. Lifeforce, directed by Tobe Hooper, is a bold mix of sci-fi and horror that often gets overlooked. It starts with a space crew finding a mysterious ship inside Halley's Comet. They bring back what looks like 3 human bodies in glass cases, but once on Earth, things go wrong fast. The bodies belong to an alien force that drains the life out of humans, leading to chaos and destruction. Lifeforce has that unique 80s energy, with practical effects that still hold up, and a wild story that goes from space exploration to full-on alien invasion. It didn't get much love at the box office back then, but Lifeforce is one of those movies that's fun to revisit just to see how wild 80s sci-fi could get.